Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. I'm going to talk about video game journalism. I'm going to use air quotes for that. No, we're going to talk about actual journalism, looking into why all the video game journos are losing their jobs or quitting or getting laid off or, sites getting sold, all this stuff. I missed this whole arc. Apparently, a couple of weeks ago, IGN laid a bunch of people off. And I pay so little attention to IGN right now that I missed it. We have been covering kind of the implosion of not just video game news sites, but also pop culture news sites. And this is happening at a pretty shocking rate. Everything's imploding. And a lot of people are jumping ship, trying to go do their own thing. Some people are jumping out of the industry completely, and they're busting tables. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And it does seem like gamers are pivoting to content creators, individual voices, hopefully including yours truly, but who knows, whatever. I'm not offended. But yeah, people are going to YouTube, they're going to podcasts, they're not really reading, IGN, Kotaku, all these websites anymore. And IGN, I think, is the 800-pound gorilla. Like, I think they will outlast most of these other sites. We know Kotaku got sold recently. Ironically, Kotaku's talking about this, which is the IGN boss leaving after the latest round of layoffs. So we're going to take a look at this and see if there's maybe trouble at IGN, or if they're just downsizing, or if, again, these guys are looking at the situation and they're like, you know what, maybe we should just leave on our own terms. It might be better to just leave on our own terms. I don't know, but it's all changing, guys. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Go out to badorcs.com, check out these orc pins, enamel pins. You have 3 days. 3 days if you want to secure the orc enamel pins. This is what they look like in real life. We've got the prototypes in. They look great. They should be shipping in October, I think, if you get the second chance offer. The first wave is going to go out sometime in September. So thank you very much for that. Again, badorcs.com. So let's rewind it here a little bit. About 2 weeks ago, IGN laid off 8 extremely valuable members of our union and workforce via directive from Ziff Davis, and then the boss, the publisher, left. John Davison, who's been the publisher since 2019, and he's actually worked at EGM, he worked at PC Zone. If you've been reading video game websites or magazines for any length of time, you've probably seen his name come up. I've seen his name come up before. But prior to that, a bunch of people got laid off. So they said this after 2 incredibly successful live events, IGN Live and San Diego Comic-Con, and yet another corporate acquisition. So let's take a look at this. Today, IGN laid off 8 extremely valuable members of our union. They're buying people out. I think what they're doing is they're getting rid. And again, people are going to be like, "You're anti-union." I'm like, no, I'm a realist. I'm telling you, union employees cost more. They're going to look for every opportunity to get rid of you because the company you're working for is not on your side. They're not. They're on the side of profit. And if you cost more and they can get the same results from a sweatshop in India using AI assistants, that's what they're going to do. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's the way it is now. Anyway, they said 12% of the bargaining unit got laid off. I don't know who specifically got laid off. Let me see here. They tell you? They said no. They just they laid off 8 extremely valuable employees. So yeah, Blue Sky's like very upset about it. Again, I'm not. Unions have a place. I think lately unions have been abusing their power to try to control the companies they work for. In this case, I think this is purely a financial decision. But right after that, this guy left. The boss left. It's come from Kotaku. John Davison, who's been the publisher of IGN since joining in 2019, told staff on Monday it was time for the next chapter. The high-profile departure comes shortly after a big round of layoffs that saw multiple departments across the company impacted. Again, the money is not as good as it used to be. There used to be a lot more money in banner ad advertising or banner ad advertising. I guess that's banner ads. But there used to be a lot more money in that. And now everything's pivoting to video. It's pivoting to podcasts. It's pivoting to basically everything but websites. And, again, the creator economy, people like myself have been taking your ad revenue. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not really that sorry, but I'm sorry. YouTubers have been eating into ad budgets, and they're not spending on IGN like they used to. And I don't think people trust IGN anymore. I mean, IGN has gotten busted on several occasions, stealing people's reviews. It's so, and it's a big corporate entity. Arriving just months before the start of the 2020 pandemic, Davison's tenure, IGN saw the site expand into events like IGN Live and a market analytics platform called Gaming Trends under parent company Ziff Davis. IGN also made a massive acquisition last year in the form of the Gamer Network, a suite of European-facing game sites like Eurogamer, VG247, and Rock Paper Shotgun. Many of those sites were hit with mass layoffs at the time of the deal. Yeah, of course they were. Redundancies. They wanted to eliminate the competition. They would take from the sites what they wanted, whether it's content or people, but mostly they wanted to get the competition out of the way. GamesIndustry.biz was gutted. One of the most valuable parts of that package, Digital Foundry announced last week it had purchased all outstanding equity to allow it to leave IGN and go fully independent. So that tells me there are some problems at IGN. Right, I don't know what's going on here, but there are definitely some problems. But Davison's been working in the game industry for 25 plus years. He was at EGM, Official PlayStation Magazine, and GameSpot. And he's going to be leaving IGN at a time when its future trajectory has never been more uncertain. A reporting, news, and features operation that expanded under previous EIC Tina Amini has suffered cuts in recent years due to multiple rounds of layoffs and buyouts. Amini, who left in 2022 and works at Xbox, was never replaced. Davison reported as Ziff Davis, president of gaming and entertainment. Yeah, was it Yale Prow? I don't know. It's not yet clear if the parent company plans on backfilling his role. No, they might just, again, hire content, clickbait farms and overseas to just churn out brain dead stuff. I mean, they're all doing this now, because it doesn't benefit them to have somebody here in the U.S. Suck in a six-figure salary to put out content that nobody's going to read. And I'm not saying all the content's bad. I want to be clear. I'm not saying all gaming journos are bad. I'm not saying all the content is bad. But I'm saying gamers aren't going to these websites anymore, not like they used to. And Google has destroyed that whole ecosystem. They said, yeah, it's interesting, though, because they actually were doing pretty well. They said the company told us the reason for the layoffs, that would be the 12% of its editorial union. The layoff stems from a Ziff Davis mandate to cut costs despite several quarters in a row of year-over-year revenue increases, to which IGN Entertainment responded by coming for our members' jobs. Yeah, maximum profits, record profits. That's what it's all about, guys. This is the thing. A lot of these gaming journos think they're creating art. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you were misled. I'm sorry if you didn't read the job description. Your job is to make articles and content that they can slather in advertising. And if nobody's coming to the site, and that means no ads are being displayed to these people, that means there's no money. That means you don't have a job. It doesn't matter how good your writing is. That doesn't even matter. Whether you're writing it or Chatbot 3000 is writing it. The name of the game is to get people to the website and collect ad revenue. And that's declining rapidly. Like, these websites are losing all kinds of money. It's insane. He says, it's been an honor to work alongside such talented, passionate people. I'm deeply proud of what we've accomplished. Davison wrote in a message. And then Ziff Davis said, yeah, we thank you. Thank you for your service. That was it. So something's going on. We have Digital Foundry leaving to go independent. It said, in the latest episode of the podcast where the news was announced, they said IGN's acquisition allowed Digital Foundry the opportunity to buy out roughly 50% of the company's outstanding shares and take it independent with the help from outside investor Rupert Lohman, the original co-founder of Eurogamer. As part of the deal, the back catalog of Eurogamer Digital Foundry posts will also belong to the group. The Patreon supporter program will now be the primary funding behind the venture. So they're going Patreon only. This is a thing that's happening, though. And I don't think people realize, like, you kind of have to pay for news. Somebody has to pay for it, right? If it's not being paid for by subscribers and everybody's trying to paywall everything. Meanwhile, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com. But they're paywalling everything, right? And they kind of have to, because, you know, ad blockers and just people are not going to websites like they used to. And I think the new normal is we're going to kind of see a return to magazines and newspapers where you paid for the content. And I know that's alien to people, but once upon a time you paid to subscribe to physical magazines, and they had ads in them too. And I think that's where it's going to go. Now, that is going to be the ultimate Darwinism, I think, because what's going to happen is the people who don't have the audience or don't have the skill set or just aren't interesting, they're not going to get supporters. They're not going to get viewers, buyers, patrons, whatever, and they're going to wither and die. Just, you know, again, Darwinism, natural attrition, whatever. So we're going to see a lot of shakeout. And I think we already did. I mean, they're having that Second Wind group. Remember Second Wind? It was like a whole bunch of gaming journos, and they went and they started this Patreon, like a super Patreon, and they were getting like 50, 60 grand a month. And then there was all kinds of infighting. So I think that's going to take some people out too. I think what's probably for the best at this point is that there are, you know, individual commentators, individual streamers or podcasters that you follow, you like, you give them a couple of bucks if, you know, you think their content's worth it or whatever. You want to, you know, see their paywalled content. But I think these big like groups, they never work out. Like internet groups never work out. Very seldom. There almost always is some infighting, especially if the reason the group was founded was purely financial. Like, hey, we're a bunch of, you know, refugee gaming journos. Let's all throw in together and do this thing and whatever. Yay, socialism. No, it never works out because egos get in the way. And yeah, I think in the case of Second Wind is they had some pretty big players in that group, and they were bringing like 90% of the views. And then the other people were being like, as I understand it, they were not real happy with it, the way that things were going down. But whatever. Yeah, there aren't many full-time video game journalists anymore. Again, it depends on what your definition of video game journalist is. This is coming from Aftermath. Now, this is like, look, I don't agree with these guys all the time. I really don't. Some of these guys got fired or gone from their respective websites. But I will give them props. I will definitely give them props for going out and starting their own thing. It is, I believe, mostly paywalled. But, you know, they're trying to do it. And I think they're doing it without ads. I haven't seen any ads on this. I think it's more like a Substack thing. But they're talking about how there are very few people doing full-time video game journalism. The people who are, like I said, I think are in the YouTube space or the podcast space. I just don't think video game news blogs are as influential as they used to be, other than to be used as fodder by commentators to roast the hell out of some of these people who frankly shouldn't be there. I'm not saying everybody. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying everybody, but there are some people who have been working in the video game journalism ecosystem for, you know, last few years, especially, that definitely did not earn it, did not belong there. They were just trying to use it as a springboard to like the New York Times or the Washington Post. And now they're pivoting. They're laying people off. So I think the future of video game journalism, just to kind of wrap all this up, is we're going to see a lot more independent voices. And I think that's a good thing. I really do think that's a good thing. I think it's not going to be profitable enough for these big corporations to have these video game news sites anymore. I mean, they used to sell them like freaking NFTs, right? Like they had, CBS had a whole bunch of them, like Giant Bomb and GameFAQs and all that stuff. I think it was GameFAQs. Maybe it was GameSpot. I don't know, whatever. They had a bunch of websites, and they paid like $1 billion for them or something, and then they had to sell them for half price. At fire sale price is like $500 million. Now a lot of these websites, I'd be surprised if they're worth a couple $1 million. And they probably got traded at one point for, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're worth like, you know, 50 cents. Not worth very much because like the traffic has died and the interest has died. But look, gaming journalism, gaming commentary, it's going to continue. It is. It's just going to look very, very different than it did in the past. But there we go. I'm going to wrap it up. Wonder what's going on at IGN. I don't know. gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Attention, stupid humans. All orcs are evil, just like Gary Gygax and Professor Tolkien warned you. Series 1 of these orc enamel pins are on Kickstarter again for a very limited time. Pick your clan, join the Horde, and cause some mayhem. Go to badorcs.com. That's badorcs.com.